Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about a lot about quarterbacks. A lot of interesting stuff has come up in the news concerning the Dolphins. We're going to talk possibly could Russell Wilson be traded to the Dolphins, and we got some Josh Rosen news related to the Dolphins as well. So we got a lot to talk about in today's episode. It should be very, very interesting. A lot of interesting topics today. So if you like that, hopefully you stick around. This first news story comes from Pro Football Talk, and this comes from Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk. Says, quote, Russell Wilson would like to play elsewhere. That comes from Mike Florio. So this is interesting, guys. And I actually had to redo this the first 12 minutes of the show because of the mic. I had my face way too close, or my mouth way close because of the mic. So I had one heck of a take. Hopefully this take is just as good. I don't want to brag, but it was one heck of a take. I hate having to do stuff like this over again. It sucks. But this brings up a lot of interesting scenarios when you talk about Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is, in my opinion, one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. I think he's a top 5 quarterback. If you don't think he's a top 5 quarterback, to me, you would be crazy. He drops to 6. Like, he's not lower than 6. He's everything in one package. He can carry an offense if you want him to. He's super consistent. He does not turn the ball over, despite how creative it is. And his style is very gunslinger-esque in terms of he doesn't give up on a play. He makes something out of nothing. He takes chances downfield. He's one of the best deep ball throwers in the National Football League. He's one of the most consistent quarterbacks in NFL history when you look at his stats. I mean, it's ridiculous. His turnovers, he never turns the ball. He's had one double-digit turnover season. I think that was in 2016. Let me look up his stats really quick. Just so I don't get him wrong. But as I look this up, obviously this is this would be the equivalent of LeBron James coming to the Heat. Like this is a transcendent athlete we're talking about right here. And the fact that if you don't know the Russell Wilson situation, he gave the Seahawks a deadline to extend him. That's April 15th. It is currently, when you're listening to this, it will be April 15th. So they're not going to get an extension done. The Seahawks are known, and obviously have proven that with past moves. They are not a very sentimental, nostalgic franchise. They will cut players that were great. They do not like spending a lot of money. Clearly, you think about some of the players that they've got rid of in the past that are still playing well, by the way. And some of them obviously were due to injury. So, I think they would. Also, if you remember last year in 2018, with the great quarterback class, that everybody was hyping up with Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, and Baker Mayfield, they were actively going to visit with quarterbacks. They were trying out quarterbacks. They went to pro days. They took visits. Okay, that's not something a franchise does with a 29 to 28, 30-year-old quarterback. Obviously, at the time, he was 29, 28. So, in his prime, and one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. You don't really hear that a lot. So, I think this has been brewing for a long time. I think both sides want to let go of each other. The Seahawks are not. They're a very moneyball franchise. They don't like spending a ton of money, especially on one player. So, I think this has a lot to do with both sides. Obviously, Russell has voiced his things in the past, how he likes to play baseball and stuff like that. It would be a perfect marriage. Obviously, I think he has a contract with the Yankees, or he just goes to their. I don't know what the heck that's all about. I don't know much about baseball, but he said if he played. I don't know if the Seahawks or the Seattle. I think Seattle may have a. I don't know. I don't know how that all works. I don't know the baseball teams like that. My point is I think this is a very realistic thing. I'm being serious right now. Obviously, Tyrann Mathieu just came out. I don't think this really means anything. Talking about how he knows something about Russell Wilson wanting to go to the Giants. That's probably nothing. But I really do believe that he is going to be traded eventually. He's not going to be. They're not going to let him go to free agency. That's for sure. So it is weird though because they don't have. I don't want to get into that. I was looking from the Seahawks standpoint. That would be really stupid because you don't have a backup plan at the quarterback position. Unless they're going to take one, but the quarterback class isn't that deep, so I don't know. But I could totally see this happening. This is an organization that I could see totally pulling the trigger. So here's Russell's stats. Okay, his rookie season, he threw for 26 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. 2013, 26 to... Oh, so he's only had 3 seasons with double-digit turnovers. 2013, he had 26-9. 2015, he had... was it 2015? Yeah, 2015, 34-8. 2016, 21-11. 2017, 34-11. 2018, 35-7. Super consistent. Doesn't turn the ball over. Stays healthy. Never... I mean, obviously he got hurt that one year, but he kept playing. I think that he actually got hurt against us when he played us when we were on the road in Seattle, which is we should have won if Kenny Stills caught a touchdown. But this would be a huge, dude. Huge. I mean, he would be the best quarterback we've had since Dan Marino. It wouldn't even be close. Like, this would be so huge, dude. Now, there is an argument against this, obviously. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, would the Dolphins even be interested in something like that? Yes. There's some news later down the line that the Dolphins have checked in on Josh Rosen. If they're interested in Josh Rosen, they're interested in Russell Wilson, especially with Stephen Ross being our owner. So, the argument against it is interesting. Obviously, he's a great player. I'm not even about to sit here and argue. He's one of the best quarterbacks of the last 10 years, okay? So, you think about all the clutch plays he's made in the playoffs. I mean, Russell Wilson is legit, okay? The 4th and 3 against the 49ers is probably my favorite when he threw to Jermaine Kearse up the seam. That was so clutch. But anyway, it was 4th and 3. The game on the line in the NFC Championship game against your division rival. Anyway, the argument against it is interesting because there is an actual argument that I could get down with. I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Given where the roster is right now, you look at what Khalil Mack and Odell Beckham have went for in terms of trade value. That's a receiver and a defensive lineman. Granted, defensive lineman probably the second to quarterback in terms of position value. But we're talking about a quarterback who's transcendent, one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now, who is 30 years old. How much is that going to be? Plus, we talk about everybody in the NFL who needs a quarterback would be wanting Russell Wilson. So the bidding war that you would get in would probably get if this is a legitimate thing and he is going to be traded, this might be the biggest trade in NFL history. I'm not even joking around. Okay? Seriously. So, the argument against it would be the roster is in a very weird place right now. We are depleted on the lines. Our offensive line is super depleted. Our defensive line is super, super depleted. You can make an argument that we don't have enough versatility at the linebacker core to run the scheme we're about to run. So there's a lot of holes on the roster. You would be put in a very, very, very weird situation if you did get into a bidding war for Russell Wilson. You're getting 12 years. I'm going to say let's say he plays till 42, especially how the NFL is going right now. I mean, you can play a long time at the quarterback position in terms of the rules and stuff like that. You can't touch. I mean, look at the roughing the passer call in the AFC Championship game against the Kansas City Chiefs. He literally got tapped on the shoulder. You guys get what I'm saying. You can play a very long time. So you're getting 12 years of high-level quarterbacking from Russell Wilson because he's super consistent, doesn't get hurt. So it would be worth it, obviously. But you would be giving up so much to get him. The roster is in a very weird place right now. You need picks to revamp the roster, obviously, right? So as a GM, if you get that phone call and you're like, hey, I don't know how many first rounds it would take, like first rounders, maybe 3? I think 4 is a little ridiculous. 4 years of an NFL franchise giving up their first round pick is crazy. 3 years is crazy. 2 years is crazy too. So I guess it's not that crazy. But that's a lot, dude, for a franchise sitting where they currently are. But a quarterback turns your franchise around. Okay, it really, really does, dude. Not only that, but if you have a good coaching staff and organization in place, you can find offensive and defensive. Because that's all you really need to worry about is the D-line and the offensive line. From here on out, you have Russell Wilson. You have your quarterback of the future. You just have to build the team around it. You can do that through the draft. You don't have to do it through free agency. So you don't have to spend a ton of salary cap. Plus, we have a ton of salary cap anyway because we just destroyed everybody. Like, everybody's gone, dude. So the argument against it would be we don't have enough wiggle room to give up that many draft picks, especially where the roster is right now. I think that's not an argument that I would my argument against that would be he's a top 5 quarterback in the National Football League. If you do believe in your scouting department and your decision makers within the organization, they can do a good enough job in the later rounds finding offensive, defensive linemen. If you look at all the superstars in the NFL right now, they're all late round picks, almost all of them. Those are exceptions like Julio Jones, Jalen Ramsey, Ezekiel Elliott, Christian McCaffrey. I'm sure there's a lot more than obviously there's a lot of late round stars right now. But a lot of them are later round picks. So it's a double-edged sword. If I'm an owner or a GM, if I had to believe in myself enough to do a good enough job in the later rounds of picking talent, then I would 1,000% do this. Plus, we have salary cap left over to go do something in the 2020 free agency market if he gets traded this season. So I think the argument is pretty clear. You would do the trade. I feel like you would do the trade. This is like a Drew Brees to New Orleans franchise turnaround guy. Even though the Saints they literally give up nothing to get him. Obviously, nobody wanted Drew Brees because of the shoulder and stuff like that. So it's different in that way, but in terms of impact, it's not even close, dude. This would be huge. This would be an historic move, dude. For anybody who gets Russell Wilson is going to be way better for it. Your franchise will literally be different for the next 12 years. You will be in contention every year. And I feel like the organization that we've assembled, you talk about the coaching staff, you talk about Reggie McKenzie, Allen from Buffalo. I can't remember his name, but he's really well respected. And the reason I just can't remember names almost all the time. But and then obviously Chris Greer, you could say what you want, but he's assembled a great supporting cast. He really has. You think about the coaching staff and the people he's surrounded himself with in the scouting department and decision-making department. It's not even close to what Adam Gase did and Stephen Ross has done and what Mike Tannenbaum has done over the years. It's way better. I don't think anybody would argue that. So it's an interesting topic because if Russell Wilson is up, you have to throw your hat in the ring if you're the Dolphins. You have to, dude. Obviously, he likes New York and all that other. I don't care, dude. Do whatever you can to get someone like Russell Wilson. I would want Russell Wilson right now over almost everybody in the draft. Literally. Any of them, dude. And I know probably the argument against that would be they're cheaper, but this is a surefire thing. Nobody is surefire when you're drafting, and I think we all know that. No one is surefire. Russell Wilson is like the LeBron James of I'm taking my talents to South Beach level stuff, guys. So this is on another level, and this is a special opportunity. I feel like we have the people in place to overcome some of those challenges and hurdles in terms of maybe working with not a lot in the draft to overcome. I feel like we could do it. I really do. And we would be competing in the AFC for 12 years, dude. That would be amazing. Think about that. You would do that. I didn't even get... Russell Wilson is one of my personal favorite players of all time. I love Russ. So, maybe I have a little bit of bias towards him. I don't know. But, obviously, he could have been a Dolphin in 2012 if Joe Philbin got his way. But, obviously, that didn't happen. I can't remember who the heck wanted Tannehill in that room. But, someone did. Anyway, that got me really geeked up, dude. I would do it. I would do it. I would love to hear some of your arguments against it. I could totally see why. I'd be like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm not crazy, but I feel like this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So, this first news story is super boring, but the Dolphins have signed Ricardo Lewis. This comes from Pro Football Rumors. This is the second news story, obviously. Former Browns receiver Ricardo Lewis has agreed to terms with the Dolphins on a 1-year deal, a source tells Ian Rappaport of NFL.com. In 2017, Lewis enjoyed the best season of his young career with 27 catches for 357 yards. So this obviously I think is a good move. He's a great deep ball player, obviously, if you know about Ricardo Lewis. And he's obviously his days in Auburn. He's a deep ball guy, He's young. I feel like there's a lot of upside to this. I feel like it's a solid signing. Is the reason I'm bringing it up. I feel like it could potentially be something pretty good. Even though we have a lot of deep threats on this team. I mean a lot. Even people forget Devontae ran a 4.340. So we have a lot of deep threats on this team. But I feel like it just adds another potential weapon to the offense in the skill position. This next news story also comes from Pro Football Rumors. Dolphins signed American Football League, or whatever the heck it was called, the AAF, standout. Obviously, I don't know if I said this comes from Pro Football Rumors. Outside linebacker standout, Jaron Elliott, former Packers outside linebacker. Jaron Elliott did not play in the NFL last season, but reestablished his stock in the AAF. I don't know why I'm having trouble saying that. Becoming one of the league's best players. As a AAF member, he had 7.5 sacks. He's 27 years old. He's obviously an outside linebacker type of guy, so he can help us at the edge. He's versatile. He fits the scheme we're currently running. So I think he adds depth and versatility. So I think that was a really solid signing by us. This next news story. Well, we'll do this one last because it's the most interesting. This one's pretty funny. This is really funny. This one also comes from Pro Football Rumors. The Dolphins and Buffalo Bills are interested in Marquette King. A source tells ESPN's.com Adam Schefter that several teams, including the Dolphins and Bills, have expressed interest in signing the veteran free agent Marquette King. Obviously, if you don't know who Marquette King is, he's one of the best punters in the National Football League. The Raiders let him go because he's got a loud mouth. He's like a big personality type of a guy, but he's a great punter. So, I mean, special teams is super important. And the reason it's funny is like, he had sort of a down year with Denver, but, so this was his stats last year. King's 20 punts traveled an average of 41 yards last season, which ranked him 22nd in the NFL. However, he managed to place 7 punts inside the 20-yard line, placing him just outside of the top 10. And he obviously had an injury that year as well, so he was playing hurt. But he's one of the best punters in the league when he's healthy. So, yeah, that would be a really solid signing for us. This next news story also comes from Pro Football Rumors. Dolphins to sign Kenneth Farrow and 3 others from the AAF. The Dolphins have signed AAF standout Kenneth Farrow from Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald. The Dolphins have also signed linebackers Tyrone Holmes, Jaron Elliott, and offensive lineman Michael Dunn. So there you go, guys. Those are all your AAF signings. Kenneth Farrow is a solid player. Obviously, the one that I like the most is Jaron Elliott. Michael Dunn's pretty good, too. Obviously, we need offensive line help, so we'll see. A lot of potential there. This next news story is more draft stuff, which probably isn't true. This also comes from Pro Football Rumors. The Dolphins are looking to add multiple edge rushers over the next 3 months. Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald hears. The Dolphins took one step in the right direction this week when they signed Jaron Elliott, one of the best pass rushers from the defunct AAF. But it sounds like they're also going to scour the later waves of free agency and the draft to find defensive ends and outside linebackers. No duh, dude. We are super... People forget, dude, we're running a multiple defense, so we need linebackers. Like, we don't have versatile linebackers on this roster right now. I mean, Charles Harris is the only one we could stand up and put on the edge. He's not good at defending the run. He's god-awful at it. Excuse me. So that is a huge, huge hole. Huge hole right now that needs to be filled. This next news story, until the last one's, it's a pretty solid one, so I wanted to save this one for last, but, or not this one, the next one. This next news story comes from Pro Football Rumors. Dolphins to host defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons' pre-draft tour continues to take shape. The Mississippi State developed defensive lineman traveled to Indianapolis for his combine due to the ACL tear he suffered while preparing for the draft. So he did not go to the combine, He did not go to the combine due to the ACL tear. An Indian report of NFL.com tweets, positive reviews emerged regarding Simmons' recovery. Following the Indianapolis trip, Simmons has visited with the Cardinals and Dolphins. So there you go. I know there's some people like him I think we've answered questions about him before, so there you go. This last news story is really interesting. Latest on the Josh Rosen market. This comes from Pro Football Rumors. Let me scroll to where the Dolphins are involved here. This is, again, reported from Pro Football Rumors. Albert Breer reports that the Dolphins, Chargers, and Giants have checked in on Rosen's availability. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The Dolphins have checked in on Josh Rosen's availability in terms of trades. Now, you guys already know how I feel about Josh Rosen. I like him. I feel like you do have to have... It's the same argument for Dwayne Haskins. You still have to have a roster around him for him to be successful in terms of you can't put him behind the offensive line that we currently have. He's just not going to have a lot of success. He's a statue in the pocket. He's not going to make a ton of plays outside of the pocket. He's got a little bit of mobility, but not a lot. But he's a really, really good thrower of the football. I mean, some of the throws that he made last year were great. A lot of people have criticized his field vision in terms of decision-making. A lot of people feel like he hesitated too much and didn't make quick decisions. When you look at him play, that's true. He's a rookie. He looked like a rookie. But when he saw it and he pulled the trigger, when he made a read, it was beautiful. I mean, he made some really tough throws last year. He just looked like a rookie when it comes to dissecting NFL defenses in terms of making reads quicker. He held on the ball a little too long, especially with I mean, obviously, I don't expect a rookie to go out there and understand who he's playing with. I mean, you're not going to have a lot of time back there anyway. But, yeah, I feel like that is a legitimate gripe with him. But I feel like that's all rookie stuff. So he's already been through it. You know, a lot of people have, especially when he was coming out, have praised the fact that his intellect, and that's why he would be the best, day one starter. I feel like out of all the rookies, like Baker definitely did the best in terms of reading defenses. I don't really think it's close. All the rest of them kind of struggled. Lamar didn't do. He relied on physical gifts, and obviously the offense that Romeo Cannell built for him was special. So, yeah, I feel like all of them kind of struggled with that except Baker. And Baker probably had the best offensive line out of all of them. Yeah, I would say he had the best offensive line out of all of them. I think you can make an argument that the Ravens have a better offensive line. They have Marshall Yanda, Ronnie Stanley. They have some good offensive linemen, but so do the Browns. They have, Joel Bitonio. They had Kevin Zeitler at the time. I don't even think that's his name, Joel Bitonio. That doesn't sound right. That doesn't even sound like a name. Anyway, the point, I probably butchered the balls out of that. Cannot remember that guard's name. Anyway, the point is I like Josh Rosen. I feel like he had a rookie season his first year. Not everybody is RG3 or Cam Newton who have these unbelievable rookie seasons. You still saw the potential there. You saw what he can do if he's right, and I feel like that was special enough that I believe in him. Depend like the whole would you trade a second rounder for Josh Rosen? My God, I don't know. That's a great question. I think I probably would. Yeah, I feel like I probably would. I know that probably sounds crazy to you guys. It's different. If you don't believe in Josh Rosen, obviously you wouldn't. I do. So it's a completely different mindset when it comes to me. I like Josh Rosen. I think he's a good. He could be really. He's just dude. He's Dwayne Haskins, but better. If you watched both of them in college, who the heck do you think you're gonna pick, dude? They're the same player. Literally. The same playing style, everything. I think Josh Rosen has a better arm than he does, actually. Alright. So, yeah, that was it for the news, man. Hopefully, the mic is not, all crackly and stuff like that, and it didn't sound terrible. Because I'm not going back this time, dude. I already had to do the retake. I'm not going back this time. Hopefully, it sounds nice. Yeah, I think we covered it, ladies and gentlemen. I think we did all the news stories. A lot of interesting stuff. The quarterback position is such a mess right now in terms of what will the Dolphins do. I don't think anybody knows, but this news coming out, I feel like clears the air a little bit. I think number one, what this says is the Dolphins really don't care that Ryan Fitzpatrick is on the roster. They will, and even if they play Josh Rosen behind Ryan Fitzpatrick, which would be fine. That would be smart, but I don't the whole they're gonna wait till 2020. I feel like is ridiculous. Some of the stuff that we've already heard, the whole Josh Rosen thing, I feel like debunks that a little bit, just a little bit. Maybe they don't believe people maybe they don't believe in the draft so much, but now that we got the Russell Wilson rumors and the Josh Rosen thing swirling around, the fact that the Dolphins have called the Cardinals, I think is a huge, huge thing. And same thing, now that Russell Wilson may be on the trade block, that's also huge. Like, the Dolphins are willing to get who they want right now. I feel like that's what this says. And I feel like that was super important for you guys to know. And I think it's huge. I think that's huge. Alright. I think we gotta get into the fan Q&A. I think we gotta do it. What are we doing on time right now? I can't see from here. I'm very far away from the screen right now. 25 minutes? Yeah. That's not... I mean, I feel like this could be a short episode, but every time I say that, like... Every single time I say that, it's not. So, we'll see. I was thinking about... Like, the last... when the episode ends... Now, this is going to sound crazy. I'm going to say this really quick so we can get to the fan questions. And if you want to participate in the fan questions, just subscribe. I upload a fan question where you put in your questions, then I answer them. So if you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, you just ask questions and you're going to get them answered. And we'll have interesting conversations with the Dolphins community. Anyway, I was thinking about putting in Madden. This is going to sound really crazy, but I've really wanted to be... I've wanted to do Madden content on this channel for a while now. I just haven't found like the right way to do it. I think I was gonna do it on Thursdays. To me that sounds probably the best day to do it for me. So, or Friday probably Friday or Saturday. I feel like there's not a lot of content on those days. I think I probably would. I think that's a good window, but I don't want it to run into the podcast, so probably Saturday. Or Friday. It doesn't really matter. The point is I was either thinking about doing separate series, and the series that I'm going to do either way is I play Salary Cap and Mutt. If you guys know what the heck that means. If you don't, who cares? This is the reason why I'm rambling. I'm going to cut this off right now because I want to get to the fan Q&A. I don't want people to like disconnect. But this is good enough. This is good for the people who listen all the time. Would you guys be interested in something like that? Because if I'm going to do it, I want it to go on for a while, and I obviously want to do it consistent, but I want people to actually want to see something like that. I think we'll do a theme team, which is, if you know what that is, it's just all Dolphins, all the great Dolphins players, and we'll have like Dan Marino and all, Dolphins players that have left previously, like Lamar Miller and stuff like that, Olivia Vernon. But we'll build an all Dolphins, stuff like that. If you guys want to see that, then let me know. If you want to see something like that. But I was either thinking about doing a separate series, like it would upload on its own, or putting a Madden video at the end of every podcast. So after the podcast ends, there would be like something that starts up like that. I feel like that would be interesting. It really would just be like a whole entertainment package in just one video. That would probably be a little ridiculous, but I don't know. Maybe that's something that we do. I don't want to talk about it. We talked about this for 3 minutes. Let's stop talking about this. Push the show along, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into the fan Q&A. That was my big topic. I usually do a big topic in between. That was it for today. All right. This first question comes from S. Actually, we're going to answer this guy's quick because this question kind of was like, okay, we got to do this one first. This comes from AB the Kid 305. I swear I've answered his questions before, but we're going to do him first because of the question that he asks. His question is, he asks, this comes from AB the Kid 305. He says, I watch every week but never get my questions in. LOL, finally I can. What do you think about... so maybe you don't ask the question? I don't know. Do you think about us drafting D-line, first round, O-line, second round, D-line, third round, O-line, fourth round, build the trenches up, which we've been weak at when we could go late round quarterback or linebacker, knowing we want a quarterback next year? Dude, I'm with you. That's what I would do if I was the Dolphins right now. The offensive line and defensive line are so underrated. If you look at all the great teams in the National Football League right now, all of them have really, really talented players on both sides of the football on those two units. And obviously they have great quarterbacks as well. But you have to have that to be a successful NFL franchise. And this draft is loaded with players like that. So I completely agree with you, AB the Kid. I feel like that's something that we need desperately, and considering that the draft matches up with the need, I feel like we have to do that. It's not sexy. It's not. I feel like I don't know how, like, people, I get it, quarterbacks, receivers, all that's more flashy, but this results in winning, and I feel like we need to do something. We obviously need to. So, yeah, I agree. I completely agree with that. That's my approach. If I was the GM, that would be the number one need going into it, is both of the lines being addressed and fixed. So, I completely agree with that. All right. I was going to say something else about that. I've literally lost my train of thought on that one. Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot. I mean, it really is. I don't think anybody really knows what's going to happen. That's what makes it more exciting, obviously, for this upcoming draft and stuff like that. It's really interesting. SM, this next question comes from SM. He says, thoughts on drafting quarterback Jacob Dolega. God, dude. Okay, here's what I'm going to say about Jacob here. A late round 6'6" foot quarterback, 235 pounds. First of all, stop with these names, dude. I'm sick and tired. Dolega or Dolega? I don't care. I really don't care. I'm done watching quarterbacks. I'm done. I've never seen Jacob play. I don't think so. I don't even know what team he plays for. I know he's not on my radar, and I know that means that he's nothing special. Could be wrong. He could be the next Tony Romo. I don't care. I'm done watching quarterbacks, dude. I've seen too many of them. I'm done. Tyree Jackson. You think about all these late round guys. Ryan Finley. Stidham, or however the heck you say his name. From Auburn. Yeah, dude. I'm done, dude. I'm done. That's enough. There's not that many good quarterbacks in this draft. Drew Lock, Dwayne Haskins, and Kyler Murray, and then it all falls off from there. I mean, there really is a crapshoot after that. Daniel Jones, like, who the heck is going to get it right? Most people aren't. There's probably one out of those people that's going to be really, really good. And maybe none of them will be. I mean, obviously, Will Grier, I forgot about him too, but we'll see what happens. Diego, this next question goes to Diego. He says, rank your 6 quarterbacks between this year's draft and next year's draft in order. My top 6? Who would be in next year's? Jake Fromm. Okay. There might be some later round guys I'm forgetting about in next year's draft. All right. Number 1, Kyler Murray. No, number 1, Tua Tagovailoa. Number 2, Kyler Murray. Number 3, Jake Fromm. Number 4, Drew Lock, probably. Number 5, Justin Herbert. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anybody. Trevor Lawrence isn't then. He's the next year. He's 2021. I'm trying to see if I forgot anybody, bro. I haven't said Justin Herbert yet, but he's okay. He's not that great. I don't think I've seen. I'll go with Dwayne Haskins, 6. So to recap that, I have Tua Tagovailoa, 1. 2, Kyler Murray. 3, Jake Fromm. 4, Drew Lock. Right? Am I forgetting someone? I feel like that doesn't sound right. 5, I feel like we had 6 before. Dwayne Haskins? I feel like I'm forgetting someone I said before. I guess 6, Justin Herbert. If I didn't say 6. So, recap. 2, Tagovailoa, 1. 2, Kyler Murray. 3, Jake Fromm. 4, Drew Lock. 5, Dwayne Haskins. And 6, Justin Herbert. I feel like I'm forgetting someone. I feel like it's killing me. I feel like I'm forgetting someone, but I don't know. Hopefully that answers your question, Diego, because I'm really tired right now. So hopefully I got that one. But yeah, there you go. Those are my top 6. The 6th question comes from SM. He says, would you give up Rashad Jones and a 3rd-round pick in 2020 for Josh Rosen? I would not give up Rashad for Josh Rosen. I would give up a 3rd-round pick? The question is, would I give up that package? No, I would not, SM. By the way, I completely butchered You know what? Jacob. Let me get close. Dolgala? Is that how you say his name? I don't know, man. That's gonna bother me, dude. That's gonna bother me. I can't see it. I can't go back. I gotta keep the show going. This next question comes from SM. He says, thoughts and reports of Miami will use a fullback next season. God bless it, dude. Obviously, yeah, I think that's gonna happen. The Patriots use a fullback in Pat Devlin. Yeah, if we're gonna run an I formation like the Patriots do, we have to have one. So yeah, I can see that. And Nick O'Leary can do that, so I wouldn't be surprised. This next question comes from Ron. He says, what is your opinion of running back Raquel Armstead of Temple? I feel like, hopefully I'm thinking of the same guy. I don't know. I might be, but I really like him. I just recently started watching him, a little bit of him. I like him a lot. There's a couple of good, Najee Harris, Ben Jacobs, is that his, God, Josh Jacobs, right? Not Josh Jacobs. The Ben Jacobs. Ben Jacobs is the former running back. Josh Jacobs. I think it's Josh Jacobs. You guys know who I'm talking about. The running back for Alabama. He's really, really good. He's really, really, really good. And so is Najee Harris, obviously, from Alabama as well. Yeah, I've been watching a little bit of running backs. Hopefully he's the same guy I'm thinking about. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I like him. He's versatile as well. So if he's the same guy I'm thinking about, right? This next question goes through JF6. He says, do you think we should sign tight end Max Williams, who was with the Baltimore last season, for some more tight end competition? I know who Max Williams is. No. He's a good player. Like, he's solid for, like, a physical football team, but, we're trying to be that, but I feel like we don't need it, because I feel like we have tight ends who could do the same thing Max does. Max killed us a lot in preseason, especially, and in regular season games when we played the Ravens. But that was with any tight end against us. This last question goes to JFG. He says, what do you think of Edge, my God, I can never say his name right. The defensive end from Florida. Let me look. Hang on. We're gonna go ahead and hopefully there's no rap music here. We'll just click this. Let me see how it says his name real quick. Okay, Ja'Kai Polite. There you go. It's not actually that hard to say. Anyway, Ja'Kai Polite from Florida. I had to look that up really quick. It's late. I just wanted to make sure I got that right. I already got one name wrong. I'm not trying to sound like a dummy the next time. Anyway, Ja'Kai Polite. I don't actually like him that much. He had a terrible combine. I don't think he's as good as everybody thinks he is. I don't like Ja'Kai Polite, if I'm being honest. I think there's other good edge rushers there. This next person comes around. He says, could you give us all... It's not a hard name to say at all, dude. I don't know what the heck's wrong with me. He said, could you give us all of the players who have done the 30 visits for Dolphins so far? No. I forgot to get the list for that, so unfortunately not. Obviously, all of the quarterbacks, if you don't know, Dwayne Haskins, Drew Lock, Daniel Jones, Will Grier, I don't know if they've done Ryan Finley yet, Kyler Murray, all of them have done visits with the Dolphins. Kyler Murray extensively has done visits. He's done like three, I think. He did a private workout. He did a visit. He's done a lot with us. This next question comes from Ron. He says, Skaggs, name the most overrated player. 2, a team you guarantee will draft a quarterback. 3, a player you are higher on than most. Mine is Daniel Jones, Washington Redskins. Guard, B.J. Autry of Jacksonville State. I think, what are you saying, that BJ is overrated? Okay, so name the most overrated player in the draft? Nick Bosa, probably, I would say. I don't think he's better than Josh Allen, and I don't think he's better than Quinnen Williams, and I don't think it's really that close. I think Nick Bosa's overrated. 2, a team you would guarantee will draft a quarterback. The Redskins is a good pick. Do you mean in all rounds? That's probably cheating. You probably are talking about the first round. I would say I was about to say the Raiders. That's not a guarantee. I would say Denver. I think Denver's definitely taking one. And I would not be surprised if it was Drew Luck. And then 3, a player you're higher on than most. Greedy Williams, probably. I really like Greedy Williams, and I think a lot of people are not as high on him. I think he's the best corner in the draft. I don't think it's close. The guy from Washington State, not Washington State, it's just Washington, the purple team. You guys know what I'm talking about. Same college, Vita Vea, or whatever his name is, went to, and that would have been a terrible pick for us. I remember a lot of people wanted us to take him. For me, give it to anyway. It's Washington. It's not Washington State. It's Washington. Yeah. He's really good too, but I think Greedy Williams is really, really good. So that's probably, I don't know. I'm probably more high on them than most people. I also think DK Metcalf is overrated as well. I feel like his route running is not that great. He's a great deep ball player, obviously, but if you watch him play, he doesn't. He's a big play receiver. So and people when they compare him to Calvin and Julio, Julio is one of the best route runners in the National Football League, and so is Calvin. Calvin can run he's not like Tyreek Hill who runs 3 routes really, and the other routes that Tyreek Hill runs are screen stuff like that, specialty routes. I feel like DK is not the greatest. He's not a set in stone first year gonna have almost 2,000 yards receiving. I don't think he's gonna be that good his first year. I think he'll be a really good player, but I don't think he'll be that impactful his first season. Maybe he will. I don't know. This next question comes from Corbett Gamer. He says, "Do you think the O-lineman we've got from the Iron will make the roster?" Talk about the Dunn guy. Yeah, I think he'll make the roster. Because the Patriots use a swing tackle, so I wouldn't be surprised if something like that went down. Oh, I think YouTube. No, it didn't. I thought it crashed. This next question comes from Will. He says, Jamie Collins is out there. What are the chances we sign him after the draft or before the season? Maybe we should kick the tires on him. He seems like a good scheme fit at least. Yeah, he's a perfect scheme fit. And Patrick Graham, who coached him, and obviously Brian Flores as well, same defensive staff, they know him very well. That would be a perfect fit for the scheme. I don't know if it makes sense everything else-wise, but it does make sense schematically, and he's a very talented player. This next question comes from Corporate Gamer. He says, what do you think about the whole Russell Wilson situation going on? We did that in the beginning. I think it's crazy. It would literally be the equivalent of LeBron saying, I'm taking my chance to South Beach. This next question comes from Will. He says, your thoughts on the team really filling out the roster with AAF players? Does this signal to us tanking? No. I mean, if that is what you were waiting for tanking, then the whole roster purge thing must have been nothing. But I think that more signals tanking. But if you look at the roster before Brian got here, and the scheme that he wants to run, it does not fit the personnel that we had. So maybe it's less tanking than it is just none of these players that we need. None of them we needed. And they were just on the roster. Basically, that's it. Tannehill, we had to move on from. That was not a tank move. Who else on offense did we move on from? I mean, Juwan James, we were not going to pay him $55 million. He got paid. He's the highest paid tackle in the league right now. He did not deserve it. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of that is a little bit exaggerated. Everybody's reasoning for it. Oh, they're tanking. No. A lot of it just made sense. I'm not mad. I feel like I sounded like I was angry right there. But no, I don't think that signal's tanking. Corbett Gamer, this next question comes from Corbett Gamer. He says, do you think the Cardinals will actually draft Kyler Murray? Yeah. I think that's pretty much a done deal. Ron asked this question. He says, rank the safeties of this draft as you see them. I want to compare to how I view them all. Rank the safeties of this draft as you see them. the safety from Mississippi State, his name is escaping me right now. Let me look it up really quick. He's really good. A lot of people compare him to Jamal Adams. He's really, really good. There's not like a ton of like there's not a Derwin James out there. I feel like there's not a Jamal Adams. There's not. It's not like the deepest, like Justin Reed, like it's not the deepest class, I would say. But let me look this up really quick. Jonathan Abram, that's his name. Oh yeah, Deontay Thompson's really good, dude. Taylor Rapp. All right, here's what we'll do. Gardner Johnson. I would say Gardner Johnson's pretty good too. I would say this is a hard one. I like Jonathan Abram. Okay, I would say Deontay Thompson 1 probably. Taylor Rapp. I would say I would say Gardner Johnson 2. I would say Jonathan Abram 3, and I would say Tyler Rapp 4 if I had to rank them. If I had to rank the safeties. This next question comes from JFG. He says, Skaggs, can you give us some possible trade down scenarios and what the Dolphins would get for them? I feel like you ask this question every week, JFG, if I'm being honest with you. This is a tough one. Because I really can't see us trading down unless, like, a lot of the players that would be there at 30, because there's going to be a run on the quarterbacks in the top 10. I think Oakland there's a strong possibility. Denver, a strong possibility. There could be some trade up possibilities. You talk about the Giants as well. I feel like a lot of talented players will drop to 13. So I feel like you could either just stay there. To me, I think there's more of a trade up opportunity than there is a trade down for the Dolphins. What's the next one? Well, and I'll give you a scenario about the trade up. That would be crazy. Let's say that, I'm trying to think of a really good player, like Montez Sweat or maybe Quinnen Williams. I feel like he could potentially drop, and I'm not joking around. You talk about Devin Bush, or is it Devin White? Who the heck am I getting mixed up? The linebacker from Michigan and LSU could potentially... They could be top 10 picks, I feel like, for sure, but they could potentially be there. But there's a lot of, like, Jonah Williams as well, who's projected now to go in the top 10. There's a lot of talented players that I would pick there. Just stay at 13. But if, like, let's say that, like, they get to, like, a Quinnen Williams gets to, like, 10, then I would probably trade up to, like, 10 to pick him because he's that good. And, you stay at 13, dude, you could get Ed Oliver. Like, there's a lot of players that you could get that I don't think you're going to get at, like, 15, 16, or 17. Alright. So I feel like trading up is more likely. I don't see any trade down scenarios, unless like the run on quarterbacks doesn't happen and then everybody's taken in the top 10. Then I feel like I would trade down. Ron, this next question comes from Ron. He says, "How do you put in Pro Football Focus rankings for players? Is it a lot or just a tool to use to put what you see in of them in perspective?" I think it's ridiculous, to be honest with you. I feel like it goes too far in some areas. Some areas it's legit, obviously, but in some areas it's ridiculous. I feel like you just have to watch the player play. That's how I do it. I just watch the player play. I feel like context a lot of times is not put into account. They literally just go by the numbers and say, yeah, that player's not that great because of the numbers aren't like stellar. I feel like you have to take into context a lot of the time, scheme, surrounding talent, division that they play in, stuff like that, which relates to like surrounding talent, obviously. But context is important. Injury, playing time, Obviously, I just said scheme. Like, all of that plays into what you see of the player. And I feel like they don't take into account that a lot of the time. Like, if you compare someone who's on a Super Bowl team, especially a quarterback, and a quarterback who's carrying a franchise, their numbers are going to be totally different. And that doesn't necessarily mean the guy who won the Super Bowl is better than the guy who isn't doing so well because of the surrounding talent. I feel like that isn't taken into context a lot of the time. I feel like you just have to watch the players play. Now, granted, most of the time that Pro Football Focus ranks college players, they're right. I mean, like Maurice Hurst last year, they were very high on. They thought should have been a first-round pick. Obviously, he had the heart condition. That's why he fell. But obviously, he's a really good player. He didn't have the greatest rookie season, but you could see, this player is going to be very, 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 very good for a long time. Stuff like that. I really don't take it into account, really, to be honest with you. This next question comes to Corporate Gamer. He says, could Daniel Jones be like Josh Allen? No. They're not even close to being the same player. Ron, this next comes from Ron. He says, Dolphins will use a fullback, no doubt, this year. Do we play a current tight end in the role, or do you see us using a late-round pick, one of our 7th rounders on a fullback? I know we have re-signed Marquise Gray and used him on our fullback, short yardage running back, or have Nick O'Leary in that role. Your thoughts? I would use a 7th-round pick on a fullback because you can get a really talented guy there because fullbacks are not, obviously nobody drafts fullbacks anymore. I would do that, but if not, Nick O'Leary can do it. This next question comes from Jay, Jay, I think. He says, how confident are you with our roster as of now? Of course, we expect to be better after the draft, but looking at our team now, it's not great. We don't have the versatility on defense to run the scheme that we're going to run right now. In terms of dude, there's not a lot of big name. I feel like I'm just saying there's not a lot. There's players that can. I feel like that. Elliott, you talk about Jonathan Woodard, Chris Harris on third down. There are players that, if coached right, could be super successful. In the interior, the D-line is actually a lot better than a lot of people think. Vincent Taylor, Devon Godshaw. There are players in place that can execute it at a high level, I think. But you still don't have any. You don't have blue chip players, stealing a term from Move the Sticks, in place really there, that are game plan guys. Nobody's really going to game plan for anybody on either side of the ball, and especially the offensive line. It's really, really bad. There's a lot of improvement needed to be done. I feel like right now we are a 4-win, possibly 5-win team right now. Because it's just, the offensive line is too bad, dude. We don't have a tackle. The interior of the offensive line is non-existent. I think moving Jesse to the right is a smart move. I feel like the interior of the offensive line is what we should focus on. If not, Jonah Williams is there in the first round. Ron asks, how eager are you for the draft to get here already? Super eager, dude. It comes out around the same time as, obviously, Endgame, if you guys are, follow Marvel movies. This month is pretty loaded. Obviously, Game of Thrones has started back up. So there's a lot of stuff to look forward to doing. This April's pretty sick, actually. So I'm super, super eager. But my point is there's a lot of stuff for us to get there. This draft, though, is super. I wish there were, I don't want to say better quarterbacks, because there's some pretty good ones. I feel like the top 3 are pretty good. But I wish it was a little bit deeper. But it is what it is. This next question comes from JFG, but I'm super excited because I don't know what the Dolphins are going to do, and we'll see what happens. This next question comes from JFG. He says, what do you think of this mock draft, Skaggs? He says, round 1, Montez Sweat. Love it. Round 2, Chase Winovich. Love Chase Winovich. Love it. Round 3, Connor McGovern, guard/center, Penn State. Round 4, Michael Jordan. Love Michael Jordan. Position guard/center. 5, Jordan Belford, edge, Oklahoma State. Round 7, Nate Herbig, guard/tackle, Stanford. Stick, quarterback, North Dakota. I don't know much about him. Quarterback from North Dakota. I don't know too much about him. So I can't really say about him, but everybody else, like Montez Sweat, that's a perfect pick for me. I love him. Chase Winovich, love it. Connor, love it. Michael, love it. Jordan, love it. I love that. I like that draft. I like where your head's at. I like the picks. I like the talent. I like the positions. I like it. Especially, I think Chase Winovich is a perfect fit for this scheme. And say we don't take an edge player or a defensive lineman in general in the first round, I think he would be a perfect second-round pick. Okay, we already answered that question. This next question comes from Ron. He asks, do you see linebacker as one of our major needs, or do you believe it's quarterback, D-lineman, or O-lineman? I think linebacker is being slept on just because of versatility and scheme fit. This next question comes from SM. He says, keep in mind of our coaching staff previous experience. Oh, I'm burping so much. In the NFL, let's say all the players we want are going by number 13 and nobody will make a decent trade down offer. So all the players we want are gone by 13. Nobody will... Okay. Then the phone rings and it's San Fran willing to trade us Jimmy G for our 13th pick, and they give us a 2020 fourth rounder. What do you do? That's a solid... That is the question of the week, ladies and gentlemen. I think Ron got that last. He has a sick question last. That's a sick question, though. That's a tough one. I feel like Jimmy G's a little bit overrated. He turns the ball over a lot, and I think that's not talked about enough. But I think that has to do with, not a lot of playing time. Obviously, special player, though. Quick release. Ball placement's ridiculous. His pocket presence is really good, too. I would do it. I would think it was weird, though, if I got that phone call. That's probably like, this is a weird one. Because it'd be like, what does he know that I don't? But based on what I know, Jimmy G, yes. This next question comes from Alpha. He says, I think we have to get rid of either TJ or Rashad to finally get Minka back there at safety, and we can finally settle in one position. Thoughts? Who would you prefer to get rid of? TJ, it's not even close. He does not have the ball skills or instincts that Rashad does, and he's not a better tackler. So I feel like Rashad wins that by a mile. This question comes from Ron. He says, what are your thoughts on defensive lineman Jeffrey Simmons of Mississippi State? He got the ACL injury, but a report I read said he brought his MRI to the combine to show teams that early indications are that he will be able to play this year. Do you like him as a prospect before or after the injury? Would you take him with our second-round pick? I would not take him with the second-round pick, but I do like him. This next person, he played on a really, really good defense, dude. Montez Sweat himself, obviously. You think about Abram, I think I'm remembering his name correctly. That defense was really good. This next question comes from Will. He says, which offensive player between Jawan Taylor, A.J. Brown, or Dwayne Haskins do you think we'll take if they follow us? We have had our visits for each of them, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you're right. I think Jawan Taylor has a way better chance than A.J. Brown, and same thing with Dwayne Haskins. I feel like those two would be taken before him. So if I had to choose between one of them, I think Jawan Taylor probably. That's it. That's this podcast for this week. A lot of interesting stuff, a lot of stuff to discuss, a lot of hard decisions that fans would have. Like I proposed the question to you guys. Like, what would you do with the Russell Wilson situation if you got into a bidding war with the Redskins, the Giants, the Bengals? Let's throw them in there. To get Russell Wilson's services, like, what would you be willing to do as the decision maker in that organization? I would be willing to do anything if it was me. If it's you guys, and I could see the argument against it because of the situation that the franchise is in right now, but obviously the argument for it, to me, is better than the argument against it. So that is what I'll leave you with, guys. And obviously I want questions about the Madden thing. If you guys would be interested in something like that, probably not. I mean, to be honest with you, I've thought about it. I was like, dude, nobody wants to see that. And it's true. I don't think anybody wants to see it. But I feel like including it in this might be interesting. I don't know. I don't know. You guys to let me know. But a lot of interesting stuff. Josh Rosen as well. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on here that the Dolphins could possibly do. To be honest with you, I would be excited for either move. I feel like it would be a really good move either way. So that is going to be it, guys. I am Stick Addict 83 and cannot wait to talk to you guys next week.